Scope in general refers to the availability of the variable and the function in certain parts of the code. For example, if you have declared a variable let x equal to 10 here, now you have a few functions, maybe let's say function print me. Here you can access x, which is very much permissible. Okay, now if I call print me, then you are getting the value 10. So here x is accessible to this function. Now let's define another variable y, which is let y is equal to 20, and then try to do a console.log y. So you will notice that you are getting a uncaught reference error, y is not defined. That means this y that you have declared within the function print me is not available outside it. That is the scope of y here. Since x was defined outside the function, it was available to the function. But since y is defined within another function, the scope of this y is limited to that function. You can call this within the function and it will be available, right? So this is because of this. Let's say we don't want this, we comment this out, and you are seeing the value. So this is perfectly fine. This is fine. Y is available within the function everywhere, but it is not available outside the function. This scope x equal to 10, the x is equal to 10 is defined in the global scope. So it is available to all the functions within the global scope. But this is defined in the local scope. That's why it is not available to anyone outside this function. In general, the global variables are defined at the top of a program or outside of the functions. A global variable will be defined, or a globally scoped variable will be defined outside of the functions, in general at the top of the program. Whereas a local variable will be defined within a function and its users will be confined within that function. There is no way to access y outside of the function unless you. So what happens when we pass an argument? For example, let's say that we have a function. Let's say we have a function add numbers which takes two parameters x and y, and it generates the values, generates the sum x plus y. Now when this function is called with two parameters, let's assume 2 and 3, it is printing 5. Okay, these x and y are parameters of this function. If we try to access these, console.log x, the system will complain that this variable x is not found. It is not yet defined. Why? Because the scope of parameters of a function is local. These are always available within the body of the function but not outside it. There is a variable x which is defined as 10. Okay, now this x is being accessed here. So you see, let's comment this out and you will see that console.log x. So x is available here. Now in the other section you are calling add numbers 2 and 3. So although you have the same name as the global variable, but still there is a different copy of this variable which is local to the function. So modifying this x is not modifying this x, the primary x. Let's say that x is equal to x into 2. So whatever value you have passed is being modified. Still you get the same value. This 10 is never, for example, let us say before call, this is the function, this is the value before you call this function, and then this is the value that is after the call. Okay, so you notice before calling your add numbers, you have this x is equal to 10, so you have printed x is equal to 10. Now you call the function add numbers, in which you have a parameter named x. You modified x, so the value inside the function becomes x is equal to x into 2, which is 2 into 2, which is 4. So for example, just to show, if I now do console.log and I try to print x, this will print me 5 and 4. 5 is y, 2 plus 3 is 5, and 2 into 2 is 4. But the original value of the value of the global variable does not is not affected by this calculation or this expression. So even after calling this, the value of x remains the same, which is 10 before and after the call. So that means that the scope of parameters is limited to the function itself. So they are local to function, whereas they can still use the global variables. This is not a very ideal situation. We should not be in such a scenario wherein you are using the same name for local as well as global variables.